Okay, this is now the 5th time I'm recording this. Against the Odds 2022 review. Before we get started, I want to make it very clear I'm going to talk about what happened in the show and try my best not to give any feeling about what happened. I will just try to tell you what happened and give you some basic background of what I think should have happened or could have happened. But I'm not going to give my feelings if I hate it or like it. I'm just saying what could have been better and what should have been better and what could have been added. But I'm going to say this right now. Anyone else who reviews his show, go in their comments and ask them, hey, what about production? Because I am going to talk about it and tear the ass out of Impact Wrestling for what they've done. Because I will. And I will talk about the other things that's going on, like how they booked and everything. But ask them, what about production? Was it good or not? And they say, what are you talking about? Production was perfect. If they say that, then you know 100% they're only doing it for content on YouTube. Because they just want to be seen. I'm not doing it for that. I'm literally telling you what's wrong with Impact. And I love it enough, even though it pisses my ass off, to tell you what's going on. Now, do you like me or not for saying that? Probably you won't. And maybe you'll leave comments down there, just shut the hell up and stop watching. And I won't. I'll keep saying it until hopefully they will learn a lesson and improve. But if they don't, I'll just keep saying it and let people know that if you don't want to hear it, don't watch me. But if you want to hear the truth, stay. Now, kickoff show, both matches. Black Taurus versus Laredo Kid. Now, I don't understand what they're doing with Laredo Kid. Because he had a match, pre-tape match, and really do much with him. Here, same thing. Laredo Kid gets beaten by Black Taurus. I would believe that since he's around so much, wouldn't it be good to do a storyline with him? Wouldn't it be good to do a storyline dealing with maybe who? Somebody in there, maybe I don't know more. Or Black Taurus again. At least build a story around it. Have them do some background work. I think that should be done. Next, a .com match between Brian Myers and Rich Swan. Now, they had that match before when Rich Swan... Calm down. No attitude. Sorry. They've already had their match. Brian Myers had to give back the title. But then this .com match happened, which was a no DQ match. You get Brian Myers winning. Wouldn't it have been better to had just given Brian the title then? It would have saved some time and maybe we could have done something extra on the kickoff, something different. Maybe we could have had maybe an interview or two more instead of the match. That could have helped build more people like a Mike Bailey. Don't you think? Now, main card. The tag match of Chris Bay and Ace Austin versus the Motor City Machine Guns. Now, this match was fine for what it was. But there's really not enough of a story between the Motor City Machine Guns and the Bullet Club of Ace Austin and Chris Bay. I mean, I would have liked to see more interaction to make it mean something, like they're having a total feud against the Bullet Club. But I don't feel one. Well, sorry. They haven't been showing much of one. Not feel it. Showing much of one. They haven't really been doing a lot of segments with them. And since now Chris Bay is now working with Ace Austin, who's come back from the Best of the Super Juniors, I would have liked to see them have more interaction first before having this match and having a situation with the Motor City Machine Guns. But hopefully, I would like to see Bay and Ace actually try to go after the tag titles now. Hopefully, they will start building this Thursday. There you go. Next, we get Chelsea Green and Deanna Perazzo versus Miyam and a Mickie James. Now, if they both are not going to go after the tag titles, I'm for this. I just hope that Impact Wrestling will hire more women in for tapings, not to become a member of the roster, because as we know now, guys, They're not hiring any women to go to the roster. They're not hiring more knockouts. So saying that they need to hire more knockouts, it is obvious they don't want to do it. It is obvious. They're not hiring more knockouts to fill in for the women's title and the tag titles. What we need is for them to pay more enhanced jobbers to come in and be fresh meat for their roster. That is what we can hope for. I'm hoping they'll do it, but it's very hard to see them doing it because when we see this, it just feels very empty because we need more. More is needed. I'm just hoping they'll get it, but I just don't see them giving us more knockouts that can job, that are from the outside. And I don't believe it's covert. I just don't believe they're paying them enough or want to pay enough women to do it. I'm just saying. Now, next will be the X Division match. That is Speedball Mike Bailey and Trey Miguel. Now, I said in my last Impact review, I'd rather seen Laredo Kid in that position. And I'm glad I'm wrong. Because in this match, it was an extremely good match. Both people, both Mike and Trey, went after each other's legs because they both knew they're both extremely fast and the best way to get them is for both to slow down. Now, for anyone who likes fast-paced wrestling, I'm sure you didn't like this very much. But in actuality, this gave us a way better story because the Georgia crowd popped for this one more than the other match that I will talk about. Because there was another match that was just as loud as this one. But this was the loudest for me personally. It was a very well told story of both these very fast-paced, high-impact wrestlers took each other's knees out and they had to compensate by trying their best, limping around to compensate. Now, did they both sell very well? Somewhat. You could say they sold about 70 to 60% of the time. The rest they did not. Now, was it done correctly when they didn't sell? Half the time it was all right, the other half was not. They acted a little sloppy. They just wanted to get their shit in. But it doesn't mean it was bad. It was well done. In the end, I did not expect Mike Bailey to lose. If he had lost to Trey, it would have made no sense. He should not job to Trey. I still wanted Laredo Kid in that position, but because the match was so good, I have to say, well, yes, Laredo Kid could have done a match very similar to it, but Trey did it very well. So this is what we get. Now, the match that was very interesting. Gazelle Shaw and the Tennille Dashwood versus Rosemary and Taya. No Havoc by ringside. We do get a Madison Rayne with a new nose guard that's about this far away from her nose. You can see where it is. It's about this far, guys. It was that far. Pretty long. I guess she really wanted to be a Pinocchio, having a nose this long instead of a little pokey nose. She wanted it this long. So, well, not that long. It's like almost about here. Roughly a little bit beyond the nose. Was it a good match? Yes, and it was a good showing for Shaw. Now, the question's going to be, because you already know, they lost. And basically, Rosemary and Ty got their asses handed to them. There was no Havoc to back them up because Madison Rayne did interject herself more than a few times. The question's going to be for Gazelle Shaw, not about Havoc. They are now doing something with her. The question's going to be, how is Impact going to package her in the Influence? I am hoping they'll give her more to do. I'm hoping they'll make a story that can get this knockout over. That's going to be the big question. Now, the 10-man tag. Oh, almost forgot. Marsha Slamovich is now going after Tennille Dashwood. And Madison Rayne and Gazelle does not want to deal with it. There you go. If you like seeing Marsha Slamovich, here you are. For me personally, I don't think Marsha should even be doing this. She should just be going at people, not just handing them an envelope where they're going to get nailed. I think it would be better not to. But they are doing something with her, so I do commend them in that respect. Now, the 10-man tag. When it came to... This is where it gets confusing. The opening of the show with look, you wonder what's going on with PCO. You wonder where Creation Perfect One, Perfect Creation One, I'm sorry. What are they doing with him? Because they keep teasing him that he's not going to be with Honor no more. And even though Vincent had to convince the rest of them to let him join the match, you wonder what's going on. Will this lead to him finally breaking away and maybe joining DK? I believe they need him. I would like him with DK. Even if you'd rather not see him with him, I do believe it would be good. And that's what you can hope for this Thursday, or at least building into it. The match was fine. It wasn't 100% bad, but this is an Honor No More match. They did either. Honor No More either does 3, 8, or 10-man tags. That's what they do now. They barely do anything else. They're pretty okay with it, but still, as I've said, they need something. They need a title with them. I would rather see Eddie Edwards win a title, even if it's the X Division or the Digital Media Championship or something. He needs a title. I'm just saying. Wildcat did get his moment. He did. Now, was Wildcat... Well, Chris Harris didn't look that bad in the ring. Even though everyone was cheering, you still got it. Technically speaking, he's a little slow and sluggish. Does not mean he's 100% bad, but he was not super great. But at least... But I don't know if it's over for him. I don't know. I don't think this is the end of Chris Harris being in the ring. I do believe this is the beginning of America's Most Wanted being used by Impact Wrestling. But I could be wrong. You guys tell me below. Next, the second loudest match of the night. And that is the Clockwork Orange, Funhouse match. I believe that's what it's called. Or the Clockwork Orange match. This was the second best match of the night for me personally. It should be the best match of the night, but due to the swerve at the end of the match, it gives a big question. So that's the reason why I'm leaving it as the second best match for me personally. It was a good, similar to a Street Fighter or Monsters Ball match. That's what this is. This is Raven's version of that. Raven was on commentary. He got very excited. He tried to make it mean something. I never really heard a lot of Raven on commentary. So it was kind of hit and miss for me. Certain points, he looked like he hit. Other points, he kind of missed for me personally. Anybody else would be fine. But I didn't have time with Raven when ECW was around. As I said, there was a gap of years when ECW was around. I barely saw any product of WWE, WCW, and a little bit ECW. I did see a little bit of it, but I didn't really get a lot of Raven. Or even TNA for that matter. I didn't watch it in the mid-2000s either. Not until 2010 did I start watching the product. So it's still kind of hit and miss for me. But this is what we got from Raven. It wasn't bad for me. It was still hit and miss. In the end, Sammy did not win. It was Moose. And it was due to the fact of Macklin wiping out Moose. And he was the cameraman that was doing the show. He was part of that match as a cameraman. He nails Moose. Moose is nailed. He is done. And now the question is, what are they going to do with Macklin and Moose now? Or is it still about Sami Callihan and Moose? I don't know. We'll know this Thursday. Here is a match that is very worrisome. Jordynne Grace versus Tasha Steelz. Now, this was the third best match of the night, guys. It was. Tasha Steelz did a great job. So did Jordynne Grace. But you got to tell me below. You got to tell me. Jordynne Grace is not an ugly woman at all. She's a beautiful woman. But tell me, have you noticed her face has become more fuller for some reason? I don't know what it is. It's not her hairstyle. She's had curly hair before or straight hair. But her face looks strange. Like it's a lot more rounder and fuller. Now, there's only a few reasons why that would happen. For me personally, the only time I know when things like that happen for a woman is that they're drinking a little bit too much. Now, I'm not saying she's a drinker at all. She might not be drinking at all. Or it also, next to a woman drinking too much and they have a tendency to swell up in the face. Also, when a woman is bodybuilding a lot, they have a tendency to also become a rounded face, become very, very solid in the face too. So either she's been overworking, doing deadlifting, or she might have been maybe a little drinking a little bit. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is with Jordan. I don't think she's sick, but there's something different about her face. She's not ugly. She's still beautiful, but she looks off. Something's different. The match was fine until the ending. Here it is. Yes, Savannah Evans does interfere more than a few times, and it does go along with the story because basically in the very beginning, Tasha Steelz attacks Jordan's right knee to try and give herself an advantage, and that was what they kept covering throughout the night. Now, by the time she did the Grace Driver to a Tasha Steelz, it was practically over. I knew Tasha was not going to regain that title. I knew she wasn't. It was too soon. They weren't going to let her just gain it and then drop it to Tasha. There was no way she was going to win. But here's the thing. Tasha was in Jordan's arms when she decided, and this is Jordan Grace, she thought the best way to do the Grace Driver was not to drop her on the floor and then reposition her, was to actually do it while she was in her arms. Now, she had done a deadlift superplex. Delayed superplex, not deadlift. A delayed superplex on Tasha Steelz. She did. But in this situation, while she was in her arms and almost looked like she was going to do a road to Valhalla, she does grab her, reposition her while in her arms, and then manages to do the Grace Driver on her. But after the Grace Driver was delivered, once she won, the ref is doing this. Tasha got hurt. I don't know where. It's a possibility the way that Tasha fell and may have landed right under Grace's face. But, how can I explain this? The way she did the maneuver, she might have put her just a little bit too much under her body. And when she slammed straight down, she might have smashed her face into Jordan's ass and legs. Maybe a lot more harder than she might have expected. So she might have got concussed. I don't know. It's a good possibility when she landed on her head because Grace's butt and leg was there. Kind of like what happened with Adam Cole. He's got a concussion right now, a serious one. He's out. So hopefully she's okay. But this was a very good match other than the ending. Being possibly concussion. I don't know. I hope she's all right. Hope she's fine. Final match of the night. Josh Alexander versus Joe Dorling. Now, I have to say this, as I said in my Impact review. Joe Dorling did not feel credible. It wasn't the fact that he didn't seem to be a monster. It was the fact they didn't book him long enough to feel like a monster. Guys, Joe Dorling should have had more than a month's time to build up into being a credible threat to Josh Alexander. As it stands, no. He didn't feel like one. He didn't feel like a credible threat when he only had a day of build. Yes, last week they tried to make him mean something when Deanna was talking in the middle of the ring and was talking for Joe. But Joe needed to show his dominance on his own, not in a tag team and not in video package. We needed to see him start destroying someone. We didn't get that. Yes, they destroyed him after Slammiversary. That didn't matter. They needed to build up into this so it would feel important, and it did not feel it. So when the match happened, which was an alright match, it was not bad. And at one point, I got very afraid for Deanna because that slide that Josh Alexander likes to do, he jumps out of the ring sideways and slams into the backs of a lot of people. He did it to Joe, and he did it to Deanna, who subsequently landed straight on his head. I got very worried. I hope he's all right. He seemed to be fine, but still, the way he landed looked like he landed on his head because when he went down onto the mat, he was crumpled like this. And it looked like he couldn't protect his head, and it looked like it hit the mat and the floor hard. I'm hoping he's all right. But in the end, even though we saw how tough Joe Dorling is, and I'm not saying he was not tough, I wanted a build to show how tough he is, not just have one match that just shows it. To really get a person over, you need to make sure that you build them correctly. And Joe Dorling did not have more than maybe a day of build with talking about All Japan Pro Wrestling being a crippled. I'm trying not to get upset. Sorry. being a Triple Crown champion of All Japan Pro Wrestling, it would have been nice that they show not just 1 week or 1 day of footage of him, but maybe 3 weeks to a month. Build for him. Then let Deanna talk for him, and maybe him talking too. And then destroying maybe one or two people. That is what I kind of hope for. It's kind of the same what's coming to Rick Swan. Now, Rick, when it comes to Sheeta, Sheeta was shown to be somewhat dominant when it came to dealing with Gunther and pretty much Morrissey. So when that match happens, at least there's a little bit of credibility with him because we have seen him for months. But here, I didn't see anything of Joe Dorling, so it wasn't there. For me, the match was not enough. Seeing Josh win, I was not surprised. It was not because he was boring, it's because there was no build for him. And that's it. You could see this show, and I'm sure you'll like at least most of what's there. But now, I'm going to tear the ass out of Impact Wrestling. And I'm going to tell you right now, if anyone reviews this and they don't talk about how bad the production was, they're only doing it for content. They're not doing it because they care about Impact Wrestling. They only care about making content. I am an actual reviewer who has seen Impact for now 12 straight years. And understand, 12 years I've been watching Impact when I could actually watch it. And for 10 years, counting this year, I've been reviewing Impact. And it has gone down like this. From the time that I've spiked to go to Destination America, till once they reach Anthem, and then work with Anthem, and then have gone to Access TV. They have had hard production that has been sliding bad until it reached this point. We have had bad camera, bad lighting, bad audio. Guys, if you watch the show, unless there was something wrong with my stream where literally the lighting looked hazy. They weren't trying to make some type of ambience of, guys, it's understand if you want to make it dim in the arena. But when they do basically their interviews where it looks so hazed that it's not just dim, it looks like they didn't even know how to either adjust the camera. Look at this. You can do this. You can make it bright. You can make it really, really dark. You can make it any way you want, even if the lighting conditions in an environment is not great. Look, I am an amateur to a camera like this. This is an M3 Canon, but M6 Canon, not M3, M6. And that is a mirrorless camera. Even I understand with lighting in my room, the light I have above me is a bad light. But at least I understand I can make it a little dimmer. If I could, which is better that I don't because it makes it more difficult to keep the lighting correct in here, I can make it darker by just blocking the light. What they did was make everything look hazy, which looked very amateurish for a 20-year-old company that had people that came from WCW, ECW, WWE. Remember, they've had production people from these companies for years. And years ago, they knew how to film. Even when they did close-up shots and they mess up once in a while, they knew how to make everything look good by making sure everyone could see everything there. Like this, you can see what's going on. There were points during that show, and particularly with Trey and Speedball Mike Bailey, that you couldn't even watch them because they were so concerned on zooming in so close to make it mean something special, like it's really, really important to know that we are showing you this Impact. We are showing you how important these people are. That they can't even get them in freaking frame the majority of the time. Guys, Impact's production made that show practically unwatchable. And what you could watch when they were smart enough to use the hard cam. If you don't know what a hard cam is, that is the main camera that is pointed directly at the ring, not the two guys, they only got two, that are at ringside that are filming everything. the hard cam. They couldn't even correctly use the hard cam, where I've been talking about for months. They've been doing this for months. Zoomed in, looking at your back. WWE doesn't do it that badly, but they have been doing it lately a lot. AEW rarely does it. NWA doesn't do that. And from what I saw from 150, MLW isn't dumb enough to do that. But Impact is doing it. The audio when Tom and Matthew were pretty much talking to us, not just in commentary when you don't see them, when you were talking to us, their voices were clipping so badly. I'm going like, I understand what clipping means. When you don't set your camera with your audio correctly, and you do not calibrate your audio mic to work with your camera, so when you're pointing it at somebody like this, and I know it clips a bit while I'm here, I leave that in there because that's part of my show. I botch, so I leave it in. It's part of who I am. But we're talking about a 20 or $30 million company, or 40 or 50. If you want to say Impact is worth $50 million or $60 million, they can't bring in production people or a audio guy to what? Are you trying to tell me they didn't do a dry run or two? And if you don't know what a dry run is, there are no people in the area they're at in Georgia. They have the people talk to adjust their equipment to make sure that they don't clip too badly. And particularly when the people are there, before the show starts, when there are people there, you can't tell me they're not doing any test runs to see if they got to tone down the voices from Matthew Rinwald and Tom Flanagan. Are you telling me they didn't even try to do that before the show started? The lighting, the same thing. They couldn't check the cameras to see if they had a haze on it. Are you trying to tell me that production is this bad that it doesn't matter? And this filters in to Slammiversary, which was just slightly better than this, and their regular shows, and BTI. Tell me I'm wrong. Whoever does any podcasting who's going to see this show and say it was great, this show went wonderful, and they don't talk about the production value of a $50 to $60 million company? What is the deal here? How come a lowly YouTuber like me, who has only nearly 450 subscribers almost, that's a nobody, can honestly tell you the truth that Impact Wrestling, who I love, and I will still keep talking about it, whether you say, hey, you don't like it so much, why are you reviewing it? Shut the fuck up. I'm going to keep reviewing it and tell you what's wrong with the show and what they could do better. And I've been talking about this for more than 3 years. I know I've talked to Jelly for 2 years, but I've noticed 3 years ago that things started becoming an issue. And I've been slowly talking about it in the show. It's become bad in the last 2 years. Bad. Really bad. In the last 2 years, it has been this bad. But I've been beginning to talk about it 3 years ago. Honestly, it is sporadic back then for that year in 2019, but I had started talking about it. Now, it's become to fruition that Impact Wrestling and the one who does production, you don't have to tell me, I know who are doing it. They need to be fired. They need to be fired. They need to fire the cameramen. They need to fire the people who do the production and tell them what to do. They need to fire the audio people. They need to just fire people and hire new people in to do the correct work, because this is ridiculous. It can't be because of the people at the venue. This is from the production company that is Impact Wrestling. Was the show good? Yes, when you could see it. But the lighting was bad. The camera work was hazy, and they zoomed in so much you could barely see. It was almost unwatchable. The audio was a problem. Some of the storylines were not great. What happened with Josh Alexander wasn't exactly great, but it was a decent show with bad production value. And I hope you enjoyed this show. Please give me a comment below And I will be doing a Rampage review. I don't know if I'm going to do Money in the Bank. Peace.